Thank you for tuning in to our Whole Foods pizza training video. I'm Jimmy from Venice Bakery, and I'm here today to talk to you all about proper dough handling procedures and the way we are going to make sure we have beautiful pizzas on our hot bar. Most important thing when we're ever making pizzas, remember the eye eats first and then the mouth. We're going to be talking about the different pizza doughs, the pizza crusts, the calzones, and of course our rice crust pizzas, which out here in our pre-pack section we can call our gluten-free product, but over in our prepared foods area we always refer to them as our rice crust pizzas. We're going to start in the kitchen. We're going to talk about proper dough handling from the time the dough comes out of the pizza boxes onto the trays, into the refrigerator for a 24 to 48 hour period for our proofing cycle, and then moving the dough into our kitchen where we're going to be able to prep pizzas and again put beautiful product out on our hot bar for our customers to see, so we can capture that hungry customer who walks into our store. We're here in our Whole Foods store in Southern California, El Segundo, the PCH store, and here we're going to talk about dough preparation. We have 4 different types of doughs in our stores today. The original dough is here, our white dough, which we're going to be demonstrating now as our proofing procedure. You'll see the HSH dough in a golden brown color. The multi-grain dough has specks of multi-grain in it. And the whole wheat dough is a brown colored dough. We can tell the distinct differences in the dough. However, we will proof them and prep them identically, okay? Starting by placing the dough onto our bakery pans. We're going to put them in a configuration understanding that the dough will double in size in our proofing cycle, which is going to be a 24 to 48 cycle, okay? We're going to put them on the pans. We're going to move them into a rack, a covered rack. Very important that the dough is covered all the time. We do not want this dough ever to be exposed to the open air. The open air will cause a skin on the outside surface area of the dough ball, which in turn, when we make a pizza with that, will have cracked edges all the way around the outside of our pizza. Although we operate differently in other regions of the country, our procedures as far as dough preparation are going to be consistent. Here we're taking the pizza dough balls, placing them on our sheet pans, covering them with plastic on our rack. This is great and a great procedure. Other regions will be using pizza dough trays, plastic boxes where the dough balls are placed inside and stacked. That's fine. Most important is that the dough is always covered. What we'd love to see is dough being pulled from the freezer at night, positioned in our racks, labeled, put your tape, grab your Sharpie, mark on the side of the racks when this dough was pulled from the freezer and the type of dough that was pulled. In this case, we have all original dough on this rack, which was pulled last night and is ready today. Notice the dough balls are placed directly on the pans. We don't have any parchment paper. There's no need for it. And we're going to remove them with a dough scraper once we take this dough into our kitchen area and begin to make our pizza. Again, all the doughs will be processed the same way for preparation the next day. What we create when we let the dough thaw for 24 to 48 hours is flavor and fermentation. We want to be sure we follow the proper protocol with a first in, first out method to ensure the highest quality pizza out on our hot bar. If we run into situations where dough hasn't been prepped the night before and we have to fast thaw dough, it's going to happen. We're not going to put the highest quality product on our hot bar, so let's please try to follow a proper first in, first out protocol, and we're going to be able to create consistent doughs to work with in our kitchen. You all can see the differences in the doughs when they're young or underproofed. I had to fast thaw them, as opposed to doughs that are overproofed, may have been in the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days. The young doughs, we're going to have a hard time stretching. We're going to fight them. They're going to have a lot of memory. The overproof doughs are going to just slack and fall in our hands. Okay, I'm now going to show you a pizza dough tray that I left out in the open air so we can see what happens to the dough when it is exposed to the open air and exactly what we do not want to do. So here we are with a perfect example of what happens to our pizza dough when it's left exposed to the open air. When this dough is in the refrigerators, what's keeping those refrigerators cold are fans circulating and blowing air around in there. That air is blowing directly onto our pizza dough and on the surface area of our dough that's left uncovered. So as you can see, what we create is what's called a skin on the dough. Discoloration and a hard surface area. If we look at the bottom of this dough, we can see what we really want to have when we make a pizza. This whole dough ball should look like this. Nothing goes to waste. If this were to happen, we are able to reball the dough, and we can reball it by turning the skinned area of the dough ball back to the inside. What we're doing when we reball the dough is we're taking all the air and the proof that we've created in our 24-hour period in the refrigerator, we're taking that out of the dough. We're going to reball it, turning it in, twisting on the bottom, and then placing our dough ball back on our pan and letting it proof. Okay, always turn the skinned area back to the inside. Ideally, we want to eliminate this situation altogether. That's what our dough ball will look like. We're now going to let that dough sit for another 2 to 4 hours at room temperature. Let it come back and proof again so we can use it inside our kitchen. What we love to see here is the pizza dough balls placed directly on the sheet pans, covered with a polyethylene liner, and placed inside the dough rack. When we place the dough balls directly on the pan, line them up in the rack, and wrap the whole rack with plastic, that's okay as well. Just be careful. When you're in a hurry and you need to come and get dough, that plastic, I see it all the time, is grabbed, ripped open, the dough is taken and brought in, and now we leave the rest of our dough exposed to air inside the refrigerator. Be careful of that. Ideally, what we'd like to see is each tray covered. Now when we want one to take into the kitchen, we grab it, go inside, and process this dough inside our pizza kitchen. To really drive this point home and following proper protocol when we're proofing our pizza dough, we want to make one last point and show you again the do's and don'ts. This is the do not. Leaving our pizza dough uncovered in the refrigerator, creating this skin on the dough, and starting us off in the kitchen with a product that is not going to yield a beautiful pizza. This is what we do not want to see. Keeping our dough covered at all times, like we see here with a polyethylene liner, is going to ensure air is not going to get to our dough and allowing the moisture to escape. Moisture content is critical in ensuring a great pizza on our hot bar.